Kids
Yeah,
today don't know what flash games are, though. Like that's the worst part about it.
I know. I know. I tried to like a couple of years ago. I tried to get my kids into them, and they're like, "These are dumb."
This is like a cell phone game, but I don't have in-app purchases to get around to actually having to be good at it.
Exactly.
I don't even understand
Right.
what's the
That's the
point of
thing.
this.
It's like why would I spend 5 days getting better when I could just bloop.
Here's $3.
Yeah, but then I have to do that $3 later on too
Yeah.
to get my.
I really think though, like it was the reason that those flourished was because like we would go to the computer lab, for things in school. And like, that was when we played them all. Now you're not supposed to have your phone out. And so what does one do?
I love this. I keep getting these texts saying that the Colorado Department of Motor Vehicles final notice.
I get those
Pe-
too.
Penalties begin on June 6th. You better call. And then I love it. It's so great. And I love the area code isn't the Colorado area code.
It's the best. My thing that I don't like, I'm finally getting used to now, but when we moved to Iowa, I started getting speeding camera tickets again. Because in Texas they're all still there, but they were ruled unconstitutional, and so you just get to start to ignore them after a while because you're like, take that government, and run the yellow light like anybody else who is a free citizen. But in Iowa, they are constitutional again.
But wait a minute. Wait a minute. So they've got these speeding things out on County Road 19R.
No, like when I'm in town, not otherwise.
Okay, that makes a lot
Yeah,
more
the
sense.
the gravel from the dirt road flips up otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. But that's, I mean, that. I'm moving my thing here so I don't have a halo. That's not working. Um,
You
I have a better halo now.
beatified, yeah.
Uh, but yeah, the gravel actually takes care of the speeding all by itself.
Mm,
Like you
not
either
with that
care.
attitude.
Well, yeah, but no, I mean, you either care about your car getting all dinged up or you don't.
Hmm. I have an old Toyota pickup. It's just gonna happen.
I still have my
Yeah,
2005 Toyota Corolla, man.
yeah. I was gonna. You're not babying that down the dirt road. I can tell.
I don't have a dirt road. I'd have to drive. I'd have to drive an hour and a half to find a
Actually,
dirt road.
yeah, it's probably about right. Oh well. So, other than our radically different scenery, you want to talk about the death of Jesus?
Yeah, I sure do. That sounds like it's gonna be
Riveting.
phenomenal.
Just
No,
sort
let's
of.
do it.
All right.
How long are we gonna go through Mark chapter 15? How long have we been doing this?
I don't know. It's been a little while. I always thought Jesus would come back before we finished, and then we wouldn't have to be wrong for couples of viewers all the way until the
I
end of this
know.
gospel.
Yeah, when Christ comes again, Phil Collins is gonna be so mad. He's gonna be like, "Lead Sal, you told me so many things." All right,
Oh
Phil.
man! All
Sorry
right,
about that, man.
so we're at Mark 15:33. If
Oh
you're
yeah, we
following
got lots
along
of
on the
energy
screen,
today. Let's do this. Woo!
it's fine. I'm gonna read the Bible at you now.
Let's do it.
When the
I
sixth
don't. I
hour,
don't think we're. I don't think we're getting through 41. I mean, I
you got
think
a
we'll
lot.
get through
I
41.
mean, you have a lot prepared. I'm assuming.
I don't.
I know. And when the sixth hour had come, there was a darkness over the whole of the land until the ninth hour. And at the ninth hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That is, my God, why have you forsaken me? And some of the bystanders hearing it said, Behold, he is calling Elijah. And someone ran and filled a sponge with sour wine and put it on a reed and gave it to him to drink, saying, Wait, let us see whether Elijah will come and take him down. And then Jesus uttered a loud cry and breathed his last. And the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. And when the centurion who stood facing him saw that he had breathed his last, he said, Truly this man was the Son of God. And there were also women looking on from a distance, among whom were Mary Magdalene and Mary the mother of James and the younger, and of Joseph, and Salome. And he was in Galilee, and they followed him and ministered to him and and there were also many other women who came up with him to Jerusalem. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
what things have you not prepared for inside of this text?
Oh, pretty much all of it.
Yeah. What's the most interesting thing then?
No, I mean, I think we're gonna kind of move through it. I would think, right?
Okay.
But I don't know. Where did you want to start? Where do you want to start with this?
So, I think that the thing that I read that was sort of the most interesting to me was when Jesus cries out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" The the commentary that I read,
There you go.
yeah, really circled around that one and dodged a bullet. Um, he says that this is not simply sort of like a gut reaction thing, but a public confession thing. He
Well,
says that Jesus is crying out, my God, why have you forsaken?" Not because of sort of like the pure mental anguish of being abandoned by God and bearing the full retribution and wrath for your sins and mine and all the world, but here he's also even saying this for your good, for my good, so that when we behold him upon the cross, we can actually hear with our ears and say, "This is the word of the Lord." Like you can actually see it happening now. It's kind of cool.
yeah, and he said as much based upon what the one word, right? And in the Greek, it was how did we translate it? He cries out. That's how the ESV does it, right? He cries
Mm-hmm.
out with a loud voice, and I think that commenter, as you stated it. I think he was saying that the Greek is maybe better heard as like shouted, like
Yeah,
proclaimed it, right? Not
proclaimed,
not crying
preached.
out
Yeah,
in pain or
like John the
agony.
Baptist who cries out, "Repent, the kingdom of God's
Right,
near."
right. Which he isn't like crying out like he's in some sort of immense pain or agony, but he's
I mean,
to
he is,
cry out,
but like,
proclamate.
yeah.
Well, I mean, for John the Baptist, right?
Oh, that
Right,
came later for him
right.
with the decapitation,
Yeah,
probably.
maybe I don't know. I've never been a witness. Um, so yeah, so how do you take that? Because I've heard some other things as well, and I know we're going strictly from the Book of Mark, and perhaps perhaps we've got some things there with this being a proclamation and Jesus on the cross, being able to shout this as a proclamation more than just a cry of agony. Um, and certainly these words that Jesus is shouting out, he's quoting from the Psalms and he's bringing other Old Testament prophetic things into it that all come into play. And so I think this is kind of the beauty of this situation is it's probably more than just one right answer in regard to all of this. So I don't think we just have to land on one and say this is it and nothing else. Um, but is there anything to say? Well, okay, you're the one who you're the one who brought that up. So take that a little bit further about that proclamation for us to hear it and the joy that we can receive in it, and then I'll go in a different.
I think the day of the Lord must be near, because I agree with you though. And I actually think that it's worth thinking about because it's quoting the 22nd Psalm. My God, why have you forsaken me? And it sort of has in the past been used to sort of raise the question, like, did Jesus just know the Psalter and decide here to pray the Psalms, or can we get sort of time warpy with it and sort of say that David was led by the Spirit to write this so that when Jesus said it, it would be? And I think again, it's actually both, because to God these things are happening at the same time, because God exists outside of time. He is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, forever, even. But more than this, like for God to behold David in faith, it is to behold David through the lens of the sacrifice of the cross, as David the psalmist pens this, my God, why have you forsaken me?" It is the very same voice of the Lord that cries out from the cross. And if it is then this voice of the Lord that cries out, it is for you to hear. And so it's not just a question of like, is he saying it because it hurts, or is he saying it for you to hear? It's both. But also then, because our Lord has assumed this pain, it gives weight to David's plea in the 22nd Psalm, and it gives weight to yours, but it also gives comfort, because now as David prays this, his prayers join to the God who has become like him, conquered sin and death and risen from the grave. And in the same way, it happens so too for you and for me. But it's important for us on this side of things, still bound by time, to know what it is that's happening there. I really like the idea that the Psalms are an intentional proclamation of the cross, because that's what happens now if this is a proclamation. And Jesus doing this, when he's saying this, he's pointing to the map, and he's saying, we're right here, you are here, and now you know how to find Foot Locker at the mall. But inside of all of this, you don't go to Foot Locker, you wear Skechers.
Is there still a Foot Locker around?
I bet
I remember
you got to
a
be
Foot
able to walk
Locker.
your foot somewhere.
Oh man, they're all dressed in their zebra stripes.
Yeah.
Some of them had the green zebra stripes. That was weird. I didn't get that.
I don't remember the green zebra stripes.
Yeah.
That's maybe before my time or locality.
Could have been.
Yeah.
All right, so Jesus pointed to Foot Locker and said, "Here we're at."
Yeah, we're not getting Heelys today, kids. It's Nike.
Right. Oh, okay. I didn't have the money for Nike.
When I worked at Old Navy in seminary, my favorite moment of this, otherwise
you
that's just
at Old Navy in seminary?
did. Yeah, I had to make that bits and pieces of $1. My favoriteest time was a kid who Heeled himself right into a wall and bounced off it. And his mom just looked at him with this utter look of disgust. And that also felt familiar to me just as a child. But it was funny when he bounced off that wall.
Just the constant look of disgust.
Well, like it was the
parents.
thump. It was the thump of the child bouncing off of
you ran into a lot of walls.
It was just a funny sound. Anyway,
all right. So
what do you have for my sins? Because that was probably one of them.
Well, I don't know if I have anything right now for it. You go to church on Sunday.
Okay.
You go to church on Sunday and get that. No, but can we say anything about, and maybe there's a little bit of, I don't know, speculation in regards to this. So we've spoken about, okay, Jesus maybe in his divinity, I mean, certainly in his divinity, but he knows the Psalms. He wrote the Psalms. He spoke the Psalms. Right. So even back in Psalm 22, right, this is his word going out, pointing forward to the very day in which he would become incarnate and speak it on the cross. Is there any way in which we can actually sit here and say, in the person of Christ, in his full humanity, as he laid aside some of his divinity here, where this, in regards to omniscience, right? And omnipotence as well, because we're seeing, God in the flesh die here.
Yes.
But
yeah.
So, is there any way for us to actually sit here and say, can Jesus actually be asking this question in a legitimate manner? Right.
So I think again, it's both, because it's not that he's pretending that it's happening and then saying it out loud for your good. It's that he knew that this would come in the very same way that he confessed that he would die and then rise again. Like he also knows what's going to come even on the cross, that he will rise again. But in this particular moment, it's got to feel awful to feel apart from the gospel, to feel apart from God. I don't know what it would feel like. And it's one of those places where it highlights the distinction between what Christ endures and even what we sort of have apart from the faith, because we run from the faith constantly, but God pursues us. And so in my lowest of times, in my depths of sin, and I'm trying to abandon the faith and run back into the depths from which I crawled and was conceived into this unbelief in sin, God chases me. Here Jesus is cast aside into the outer darkness, and God does not pursue him.
Right. That's the thing. And I think the question is, it's interesting. I think the question is legitimate because in his person and who he is intrinsically, that's a legitimate question of why in the world would you forsake me? Right. I'm holy and righteous and perfect, and I've fulfilled everything that needed to be done. I was Israel as Israel was always supposed to be. Right. There should be no forsaking of the one who can actually fulfill the law. Right. The law can actually promise salvation to the one who can fulfill it. And here we've got the very one who's fulfilled it.
Right.
so in a sense, I would think that this it's a legitimate um, uh, question to be had. It's the pure on one hand, it's the pure injustice of it all,
Hmm.
right? And yet on the other hand, it's the full justice of it all, because this is where we
Hmm.
get the propitiation. This is where we get um, the work of Christ taking on our sin. And so I think we talked about this all the way back when we were talking about the baptism, where it's the thing of Jesus doesn't need to be baptized. Um,
Right.
like we do. And yet it is necessary that he is baptized. We hear that, I think, more in Mark, that language is brought out even more to fulfill in Matthew, to fulfill on all righteousness. But what is the fulfilling of all righteousness? It's actually becoming one with man, becoming one with the sinner, becoming the sinner. Right. And
Hmm.
so here we've got the active righteousness of Christ, um, in full legitimacy, asking perhaps, why are you forsaking me? I've done all that has been asked of me. And then the passive righteousness of Christ at the very same time. It's this, yeah, you've Christ has done all that the Father has asked the Son to do, which isn't just fulfilling the law, but then it's actually standing in the stead of the sinner. So that when Christ is calling out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" It's so that we never have to, right? So that we would never actually have to call that out. Although you've got David doing it in the Psalms here, you've got him doing it in other places as well. Maybe
Yeah,
not
but
in
how does
this
he end the
exact
psalm?
language.
Because even that ends on hope.
Well, but that's the thing, right? And
Yeah,
but for and that's the craziness of this of the soul. It's like, for David, for you and I, we can call out these. It seems as if you've forsaken me, God. Where are you in all of this mess? Where
and
are
the
you
answer
in?
is saying it on the cross. Yeah,
Right there, he is. Right,
it's
and
beautiful.
so it's so that Christ is saying this because he and the Father will never actually forsake us.
Hmm. No,
Never
I think
ever.
it's brilliant. It's beautiful. It's there's something there, and it actually highlights too, because there's such profound truth inside of that, that it makes sort of the next verse all the more ridiculous. Because the crowds immediately then start to mock him, saying, "Behold, he's calling to Elijah," and he's not calling to Elijah. He said, "My God." Like he doesn't even say like Lord, where you could misconstrue or maybe wonder, but like they outright like ignore his words and make him a liar. But in doing so, they show who their God is, because they ignore the word God, and instead of looking for God, they're looking for what their understanding of who Elijah come again will be, which is again that political ruler, that again that worldly power that will give them health and wealth and no more owies. And so
Yeah,
they would rather find that.
I'm curious if they're also trying to see, like, not in any real curiosity
Just
way,
that last ditch test to see.
but yeah, it's just like, okay, we understand that this new Elijah will. They had this understanding of Elijah before the last day sort of thing coming, and Christ spoke about that, but it meant John the Baptist and kind of all this too, and um, so I'm curious if they're okay. So this Jesus fellow who's up on the cross
Mm.
is calling out for the salvation of God, and I'm curious. Maybe it is legitimate that they didn't take his word truthfully, and they're looking for Elijah here. But I'm curious if maybe that's not the case, right? In the coming of God to grant salvation to the Messiah,
He will send
do they?
Elijah, and so God would come to work through Elijah.
Do
Okay,
they have this thought that they're going to say? So it's just like, maybe, okay, let's see,
all right,
right?
last chance.
Here you go, prove it,
Yeah.
right? It's kind of like in the other gospels where we get to hear, if you are the Son of God, come down from the
Come
cross,
down from
right?
there,
Save
right?
yourself, right? Here,
Hmm.
this is your chance. It's in front of everybody. Do it.
Do
It's
it.
like,
Don't be a
and here it
chicken.
is,
Yeah,
right? And I think
devil
maybe
doth
here it
hear you.
is, right? And here it is, the same kind of thing. Like, all right, this
Yeah.
is the end for this guy. Like, now's the time for the salvation to come for him. Let's see if it happens. That's and probably in not a pure curiosity way, but a probably still in a mocking sort of way of, yeah, all right, right. Let's give him a little something to drink. Let's
Yeah,
prolong
but
this a
not
little bit
even like
longer.
let's make it worse too, because they it's the sour wine. It's the wine mixed with gall or vinegar that they give him. Like, let's make sure that he has a worse thirst after drinking this and dies with a bad taste in his mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, and the as you said, the commenter mentioned a couple of different ways in which we could take that, right? Um, that wine either has this deadening thing, so it actually deadens the senses and makes it
I don't think he had
more
enough to.
palpable.
Yeah, I don't think he had.
Right, a sip of wine mixed with vinegar isn't going to do that. Or there was another option of it. It kind of gives this alerting sort of thing. With that, vinegar is actually going to kind of
Just sort of
uh,
shock you into the fact. Oh yeah, I really am dying on the cross. I think he probably
right.
felt it the whole time. Yeah,
Right.
I don't know.
I don't know exactly how to take of it. What I liked was his third option in regards to that was, and I don't know how to 100% feel this or take this. Where is this actually Christ's fulfillment of
I
when
will
he
not drink
says,
this cup.
right, I will not drink the fruit of the vine again until, right, I do it in a wholly different way. And so, in the state of beforehand, and certainly at the Last Supper, he's taken it unto the gospelly purposes, or still here it is as well. Um, but for him, right, is this? I'm curious if this is such a way to see in a tangible, tasty sort of way, him
Not tasty, but yeah,
literally drinking the
drinking the
wrath
cup.
of
Yeah.
God, right? Drinking that cup that he asked, if there's any way for this cup to pass from me, may it
It's
happen.
right. And it's sort of in the same way, because you alluded earlier to the baptism of Jesus, where we sort of addressed he didn't need the baptism. He was baptized into his sin while we were baptized out of
In,
ours.
into
Um,
our sin.
yes,
Yeah, right.
but
You had
he
said
bears
into
it
his
though,
sin.
right, into to the sins of the world.
Right,
Good
right,
point.
right. Okay.
But in the same way here, though, in the same, we drink of the cup to abate the wrath of God, to for the forgiveness of sins, and here, yeah, again, he drinks of our sin, of the wrath that should be ours.
Yeah, yeah. It's just
Because
yeah.
there's going to be just one more callback to it too, just here in a little bit, right?
I don't
With
know. Is
the
there?
curtain being torn from top to bottom
Oh,
in Mark.
oh, we got that to talk about too. Oh goodness.
Yeah,
Okay.
but like
Eh,
this is also how Mark starts his gospel. The heavens were rent at the beginning of the gospel and the baptism of Jesus, and here to close down the ministry of Jesus, the heavens are once again rent from top to bottom.
Yeah. Okay. So go ahead and read that. Then
We already read
we'll
that.
discuss. Well, I know, but read it again. We read it
Read it again.
18 and a half minutes ago. Like nobody
And the curtain
remembers
of
what
the
you read.
temple was torn in two from top to bottom.
All right.
Is that
Yeah.
is that
When does
enough
that happen?
clarification?
When does that
Uh,
happen?
verse 37,
Verse
verse
37.
38, verse
All right.
38.
Right after he had oh no, oh well,
Jesus
you're
uttered a
skipping
loud cry
37,
and he
my man.
breathed his last.
You're
Oh,
skipping number
okay. You're right.
37,
I'm sorry.
right?
I didn't realize that you were really meaning it when you said we're going to spend the whole time on just this little section.
I really do think we are. There's a lot in the death
So
of
there's a
Jesus.
lot in the, yeah, I
You
guess
just
that's a
want
fair
to
statement to
you just want
say.
to race all the way
Coast
through
right
to
over
the
there.
end. All right. A good thing we're just doing the short part of Mark, so we don't have to go through all of Mark 16, right?
It's like 4 verses or something. That'll really save us 3 weeks. Um,
Okay, so he breathes his last, right?
mhm.
Jesus uttered a loud cry and breathed his last. I think there's something to that. I think there's a lot to that that we pass over. I think rather quickly, unfortunately. Um,
Cook.
and this is stop with that
I
millennial
have to say,
language. I'm not gonna cook. This is not fire. There's none of that garbage going on.
word
Okay.
chef. Um,
So, um, the very fact that, generally speaking, in almost every situation, I think we get to hear this later on. Maybe I can't remember if Mark has it. It's certainly in different gospels it does. where they run and tell Pilate that that Jesus is dead, and he's like, "What? Like, it's only been a couple
It's
hours.
just
Like, how?"
supposed to take way longer. Yeah.
Right, but that's just it. Like the crucifixion, um, it's a torturous sort of thing, not just because of the pain and agony that's happening, but the death that's happening is a slow and lingering death. You either die, generally speaking, from exposure because you've been out there for days, from dehydration because you've been out there for days, or your body's so weak that you can't literally lift yourself up anymore to
And you
exhale, and
asphyxiate. Yeah.
you asphyxiate, right? But all of these are going to take hours upon hours, if not days upon days, right?
Mhm.
And so now we've got Jesus, and yes, don't get me wrong, he was flogged and received beating and torture beforehand, and that probably rendered his earthly body somewhat more um, weak to all of this. But I think there's something to be said about, and again, I think we skip over this a little bit too quickly. And Jesus uttered a loud cry and he breathed his last. In other Gospels, we get to hear, and he gave up his spirit. I think there's something to be said about Jesus here. He said, my God, why have you forsaken me? Right? In other Gospels, we get to hear, it is finished. When the full wrath of God for the payment of sins is actually done and over with, then Jesus is the one who actually gives up his life, just like he said he would. He's like,
Mhm.
I'm the one who has authority to lay down my life. You don't. You do
Right.
whatever you want to me. Throw me up on that cross. I'll stay up there until I'm ready to be dead. So you don't have authority over my life. And so I think in this very verse, he's got that he's showing that ability, that authority that he has of saying, no, I've come to accomplish the salvation of the world. Once that's accomplished, then I'm the one who's going to lay down my life. So I'm going to cry out with this cry of,
Victory.
in another gospel, we get to hear it, it is finished. And then I'm going to breathe my last. I'm deciding my life's done. It's over. Nobody else is taking that from me. I think we actually get to see that. So I think that's part of later on we get and we'll get. I'll let you ramble on with the curtain, but
I
we get
already
to
did the
hear.
thing.
No,
Just
not enough. Are
blasphemy.
you kidding me? That's all you're going to pontificate on the curtain being torn in two? You're 15 and a half seconds worth.
I talk
But
fast.
after the curtain's torn in two, we get to hear the centurion say, "Truly, this was." How does he say this? Truly, this man was the Son of God. Right. I think there's a lot to that as well. We've got the centurion seeing the way in which this man has authority over his own life, and he's the one who's actually laying it down. And the things that he's enduring, and the things that he is saying and declaring, and then the very fact that he was the one who cried out, and then breathed his last, and other gospels we get to hear gave up his spirit, right?
Hmm.
He's the one who actually did this. And the centurion, I think, in seeing that, and the commentator kind of pontificates on this, that it's the only time in which the proclamation of the Son of God is done in the Gospel of Mark is right here by a human, and it's after we've actually got Jesus breathing his last and giving up his spirit. So it's after this sending out of the spirit where this individual can make this confession
Hmm.
that he
Which
in
is
no other way could have.
right.
I think this
And it
absolutely
ties to
is.
our third article of the creed that he could not by his own reason or strength come to this conclusion, because nobody looks at the guy who just died on the cross without Elijah coming to save him, without the miraculous coming down from the cross by his own powers, without any of the things. He just, up and died there real quick. Like that's a real good demonstration of your God, as you'll show them by dying quicker. But
Right.
it is actually by divine revelation here. It is the breath, the ruach, the spirit that comes from, and here we're going back to creation. We're going back to Genesis, where the breath. And you can go to John chapter 3, where the wind blows where it wishes. The wind and the spirit are sort of tied together here. It gets a little bit mystic, and I like that. It's fun for me, but it's one of those places too where, like, also let's maybe mix it with everything else that's happened here. The Roman centurion who is guarding the cross was also probably present. Then at Pilate's judgment, was also probably present to hear these charges read. Was also probably present to maybe even hear some of the preaching that has so upset everybody. um
Right.
and so I don't know that it is sort of one or the other. Like he sort of reasoned, he solved the mystery that nobody else did by paying attention, or that just sort of like he the breath hit him like right in the side of the neck and he got the tinglies and then he was a Christian. But rather it is both.
Yeah. No, I think it's probably legitimate to say that his watch probably didn't start at the crucifixion. Like he punched his time clock in at 1 o'clock, and
Just showed
30
up and like,
minutes later Jesus
but that's
dies.
God. What are you guys doing? You
Right,
guys messed
exactly.
up.
Right. He probably has seen the whole, but that's the whole point. Like he's seen the whole story play out here, at least the last 12 hours, or give or take, or at least is aware of it all taking place. The charges brought against him. He sees the sign, right, the King of the Jews, and he hears the mocking of all of the people around. This guy claimed to be God, all of that sort of stuff. So, yeah, the very fact that I think at the end the punctuation is he gives up his Jesus is the one who gives up his spirit, breathes his last. He's the one who's able to do this, and nobody
Right.
takes it from him.
It's fantastic. And then back to the.
Rend the curtain, sir. Rend the heavens.
So these are things I think in a lot of ways most people have probably heard at one point in time or another. The curtain in the temple being the thing that separates the holy of holies that you cannot enter into. Only the high priest and only once a year on the Day of Atonement can enter into. This is the place where the Ark of the Covenant used to reside, the place where God and his full presence existed. And if you went in there wrong, you up and died, which is why even when the high priest went in there, they tied a rope around his waist so they could tug him back out there if he messed that up, because otherwise you just got like a whole pile of dead high priests in there and nobody wants that. It's bad. But inside of all of this, this is now rent from top to bottom, not sort of from our works to climb up to God, but actually from top to bottom, as God would descend to us to save us, as God would exercise, would command judgment down from the heavens in this death of Jesus, that it would be fulfilled, that there would be no more separation now between God's true raw presence and you, that would cause you to die because of your sin, but you're forgiven now, and so you get to approach God. You get to sort of enter beyond the veil. And Hebrews will talk a lot about this itself. But you get this every time you go to communion. You go further into the holy of holies than the high priest on the Day of Atonement every single Lord's Day, ideally, when you receive the body and blood for the forgiveness of your sins, because he's present. And now, because of this great sacrifice in mercy, because all of the wrath has been poured out. And this was actually the very same thing that the gospel opened with. This was the heavens being rent at the beginning of the Gospel of Mark, where Jesus is baptized, where he is assuming not his sins, but mine, yours, all the sins of the world. Great catch there. And ultimately, we see this brought to its conclusion, because the baptism of Jesus really can only end in the crucifixion. It cannot go anywhere else, because this is him taking all of the sins, and they got to go somewhere. And it's either going to be, us bearing that wrath, or him. And I'm really glad that he called dibs. So is that
Yeah,
is that good?
that's perfect. No, I got
Cool.
nothing more. I think you nailed it. No
So
pun intended.
you want to? Oh, um,
We're done.
do you want to? You want to? Let's. There's not a lot here. There were
What?
women looking on from a distance, Mary and Mary, and they followed and ministered to him. And many. Is there anything that you see in verses 40 and 41?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there is, and I don't want to take away the very fact that Mark did name these women. There is a place within the church in which they deserve the honor that they have, these women have been with Jesus from the beginning of the ministry, have continued to be with them, and are sitting there at the base of the cross, or far off, whatever, sitting there at the crucifixion, seeing all of this happen, and there's got to be something there in regards to there they are, and yet there's nary a disciple to be found, minus John, that we get to hear about in other gospels. Everybody
I
else is
think
hiding
it's
behind closed doors.
Yeah, so I mean, there's sort of two things that I caught in this, and one is it's hard not to notice that all of the other apostles, the ones who are actually called here to be witnesses and proclaimers of this death and ultimately resurrection, have already fled, and the women are there still doing the thing. But I think it actually is important for the credibility of the fact of they are the ones who are the first witnesses of the resurrection, and if they are not also first witnesses of his death, it becomes a little bit less like impressive. Like if you saw Jesus on a Sunday, but he didn't die on the Friday,
Yeah.
just like
No, I like that. There's a lot to be said about that. They were the witnesses of him breathing his last,
yeah.
and
So
they're the witnesses of him and his resurrection, breathing in
rebreathing,
life once again, right?
yeah. And so like that matters. It's also I think if you really want to get to this, and we probably will at some point many years down the road when we're like 8 verses down past this and talking about the resurrection. Um, Ultimately the women are the first ones to see the resurrection, but by the time we hit Pentecost, we're going to have to come back around to the fact that they fade back into the background, and the apostles are the ones who are again being sent. um we'll probably cross that bridge as we get a little bit closer, but at the same time I think that it's important to see that these women are not being discounted, just because they are not pastors, just because they're not apostles or the sent ones, but their witness is important, and it's recorded not just even for the sake of the apostles, but for the sake of the church as a whole.
I like it. All right.
It is finished. Until
It
next
is
week.
finished, and then we'll have the burial of Jesus next time.
Bye.